And what's happening, everybody? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you, and for a historic video for my channel. Yes, as you can see, this is the first live broadcast I've ever done on my channel, the Club of the Man 1993. Now, I'm sure some of you who are wondering, what made you do a live broadcast and start doing some live streaming? Well, I more so did it because a couple of my friends and I, who do our wrestling videos, we are going to be doing a couple of video collaborations leading up to WrestleMania 33, and we're each going to do one for our respective channels. So I am going to I wanted to test out my live stream, make sure it works. That way I could be able to do this video as well. So but the reason why I don't do too much, I didn't really want to do the live stream much before, is because I like to put my graphics and stuff on my intros at the beginning of some of my videos. So but some videos, in a case like this, I don't really need much graphics. I have my PowerPoints. So like maybe it's my baseball videos or like any video collaborators here and there, you'll see some live broadcasts being taking place on this channel, but it's not going to be too many. So yeah, that's the reason why I decided to do a live broadcast for this video, which is my 2017 MLB preseason predictions video for the 2017 season. Spring training is starting a little bit earlier this year, as we all know, because of the World Baseball Classic, which I'm not really too for spring training starting early this year. I mean, for any year, because more so there's too much what's the word I'm looking for? There's just too many preseason games. Last time there was a World Baseball Classic, there was like almost maybe like 40 preseason spring training games. And that's a little bit ridiculous. I don't think ball players can be playing that many. 30 is okay. 25, 30 is okay, but that's how this is the World Baseball Classic. Now we're going to talk about the World Baseball Classic that much. All I got to say is go USA. Let's get started. So for my first predictions video last year, what I did, I first went through all the divisions and predicted whether I wanted to do and predicted, you know, who's going to win the division, who's going to win the wild cards. And instead of just putting each of them on individual slides, I put them all for the American League and the National League on one slide. So first, let's start on top of the American League East, which has always been known to be one of the toughest divisions in the league, as most of us already know. So I predict my predictions from 1st to 5th. The Red Sox win the division, which is no surprise. I mean, despite losing David Ortiz, they've replaced him with Mike Napoli. Andrew Benintendi, I believe they have a top prospect going to be probably ready for the main roster. Probably not be on the 25-man roster for the beginning of the season. So he could be in left field in the starting lineup for the Red Sox. You have him, Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Dustin Pedroia can still go. Hanley Ramirez had another stellar year last year after being a little off for a while, but I think he finally found his way back playing at first base. Said Mitch Moreland's first David Ortiz replacement. Not the greatest replacement to replace Big Papi, but I'll take it. And then we also have who else? Xander Bogaerts and their pitching staff, and the big acquisition of Chris Sale this offseason. So I still expect the Red Sox to do great things. Now, I was really torn. I didn't know who was going to play second. It was either going to be the Blue Jays or the Yankees for me. But I still have faith in the Blue Jays despite losing Edwin Encarnacion to free agency. So I still have them finishing second, more so because of their pitching. Their pitching was the best in the league last year, apparently, with Aaron Sanchez, Marcus Stroman, and a few others. They have a great closer in Roberto Osuna. So I think, I mean, they replaced, they got Jose Bautista back for one more year. Then they replaced Double E with Kendrys Morales, which not the greatest replacement, but I think good enough to replace to fill that hole in the gap. So I think the Blue Jays should still be a stellar team, probably placing second. Third, I really like what the Yankees are looking like this year with their young players. I think after they traded away some of their high-paid players and then a lot of their older guys, either retired like Teixeira or A-Rod, and after that, a lot of the young players were really developing. Like, I'm really excited to see Gary Sanchez play. I don't know what's in store for him, what he's going to bring to the table, but hitting 21 homers in 53 games, I think this guy can easily break 40 homers this season. Just my opinion. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, I'm predicting third. And then their pitching staff, it's up underway also. But I think they're young talent. I think they can place a solid third place. almost getting in wild card contention, but not going to be one of the wild cards this year. Fourth place, I have the Orioles. I know last year I wasn't really too high on the Orioles either, but they did make a wild card berth, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did it again. They still have some of their best hitters. They have a lot of power in that lineup. They still have Mark Trumbo, Jonathan Scope, Adam Jones, Manny Machado, who could be an MVP candidate, but I didn't pick him to win the American League MVP. They did lose Matt Wieters, though, so hopefully they'll be able to fill that void at the catcher's position. We'll see what happens. But their pitching it's shown that it has their strengths and their weaknesses. So their pitching, they have a great closer in Zach Britton, of course, but I'm not completely sure if I see the Orioles being definitely being contenders, but in this division, you got to have a fourth-place team. And that's why I picked the Orioles. And same reason why I picked the Rays, placing fifth. I think they could do better, though, this year than they did last year because they had some down years from their pitchers, even though some of them I think didn't get the complete run support they always had. But they have a decent offense. They have the tools to win a division and even be to be a wild card team, of course, probably more. If they're going to get anywhere this year, it would most likely be a wild card team. But again, the American League East always had tough division, had to have a last place team, and unfortunately, I see that being the Tampa Bay Rays. So the Tampa Bay Rays will probably place last. That is my prediction for the American League Central. Little shuffle up. Definitely surprised with the results from the American League Central last year. We had our American League pennant winners, the Cleveland Indians, who I think are going to be the team to beat in the American League this year. People think it's going to be the Red Sox, which it could be, but I think the Indians are. You know, they got the postseason experience that they needed. They have a great manager in Terry Francona, who has a ton of playoff experience. And last year was the first time in, I think, either ever or how long that Francona lost a game in the playoffs. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. But yeah, I mean they only really lost one player I'm aware of, and that is shoot, what's his name again? I can't remember now. I completely forgot. They lost one key player. Oh, Mike Napoli. Yeah, Mike Napoli went back to the Rangers, and he was replaced by Double E, Edwin Encarnacion, probably taking over DH roles or first base roles, swap back and forth with Carlos Santana, who is finally blossoming to the superstar I knew he could be. But yeah, and their pitching is just keeps getting better and better every year. Corey Kluber, Danny Salazar, and their relief and like Cody Allen, Andrew Miller. This team has always had the tools. They've always been there was that team that were almost there, and now I think they finally blossomed. They almost won the World Series last year with just an awesome, I repeat, awesome Game 7. One of the best baseball games I've ever watched in my life, honestly. But yeah, I see them being even better than they were this year. I mean, I know they had some injuries also, like in Michael Brantley, Danny Salazar went down towards the end of the year. So with all of them back, I think that the Indians are going to be a very dangerous team. Could be the best team in the league, in my opinion. But we'll get to that a little later. I was a little torn between what I want to do for second and third. With experience-wise, I'd say I went with the Tigers, even though I think they're starting to get up there in age. Some of their players are like starting to like fall off a little bit. So I could see them maybe placing third. Their pitching is still decent, but they still have had their holes here and there. They've been that, like, expected playoff contending team over the past 10 years, I'd say, after they finally broke out of their losing slump in 2006 and almost got to the World Series, but they got blown away by the Cardinals. But I still expect the Tigers put up a solid fight. I know 2 years ago, they didn't really have a good season, but I think they still have the decent tools. But I'm thinking they could fall off maybe to third, depending on how on any injuries and also how some of these aging players like Justin Verlander or Miguel Cabrera and Victor Martinez, how all of them continue to play. I mean, I'm still expecting Miggy to have a good year, but we'll just have to see if the rest of the Tigers team, who the young guys will even come around too, but just to see what they have in store. They're a team that I am not 100% sure where they stay. Which is also the Royals. The Royals were a really disappointment last year. I still thought they were going to be a decent threat last year after coming off win a World Series. But they had some holes in their line. I mean, their defense which has been their big key to winning most of their game. Winning a lot of their games over the past years was their key. That all wasn't there. They lost Mike Moustakas for most of the year with an ACL injury. So I mean, and then a lot of their players are on their contract years. So like this could be it. If they don't get it this year, I think Kansas City could easily be falling back down to a little bit of a rebuilding stage. Maybe we don't know. They had the big tragic loss in Yordano Ventura a month ago, so that's another big hit name they lost. And they really didn't. I don't think they really got anybody over the offseason as far as I can think of. I don't know if anybody got anything, leave it in the comments section. Yeah, I don't know, but I think if healthy Mike Moustakas could help boost his team a little bit. I don't know. I mean, they even lost Kendrys Morales also through free agency. So I think the Royals, I mean, could be like another like 500 team, and if they don't get something going this year, like they're probably going to be trading away like Hosmer, Moustakas. I can't remember all the other players who are in their contract years, but you know, maybe that'll be happening, and maybe the Royals will be the next team to go into the rebuilding stage. We'll have to wait and see. But following that, we have the Twins, who I'm predicting placing fourth. The Twins last year had a very disappointing year. The year before, they got off to such a great start. Would you stop texting me? They got off to such a great start, and then last year they just completely fell apart. I don't know if it was injuries again, or like they just went with a lot of young talent. Like they had some good guys on their team. They have Brian Dozier at second base, who had a phenomenal year, especially his second half. Finished in the tops in the league with 42 homers. They got Max Kepler now. They still have Joe Mauer, who's not as good as he used to be, but he'll still swing the bat decently well. Miguel Sano. Byron Buxton finally came around. Max Kepler, I think I'm right to mention him, but yeah, we have all these top players coming. These players come up, and I think they're going to start blossoming out. Definitely to probably not have a winning season, but I think they're definitely going to at least have a little bit, at least maybe like a 70-win season, and have a little bit better year than the 100-loss season they just had this past season. And then finally we have the Chicago White Sox, who got rid of Chris Sale, and I think the White Sox are one team that's in a huge mess right now. If there's a team that it wouldn't surprise if they lost almost 100 games, it'd be the White Sox. They have some good tools on this team. They still have Jose Quintana, Jose Abreu. But other than that, it's like, what really is there left for the White Sox? Unfortunately, I'm not seeing much happening for them this year at all, as I said. I expect them to finish last in their division. And then for the American League West, though, a little bit of an interesting lineup here I have. As you see, I have winning this division the Seattle Mariners. I really like what's going on with the Mariners. And Scott Survey says as their manager. I'm sorry if I butchered his name, but yeah, the Mariners last year, like a lot of their hitters came alive. They have so many great power bats. I mean, they have Kyle Seager, Robbie Cano. They got Gene Segura over the offseason from the Diamondbacks. They have a new leadoff hitter, Nelly Cruz. They've always been having the pitching, but they didn't have the offense. And I think this is the year, with the experience some of these guys are getting, and people are finally getting back into their groove and staying healthy as well. I think the Mariners can run away with this division this year. Why not the Rangers? There shortly. The Astros are another team where I had a high hopes from last year. I thought it was going to be them and the Cubs in preseason win the World Series. Thank you for my one viewer, by the way. Thank you for joining me live. But yeah, the Astros, I think also could be contenders to win the division this year. Except the only thing is I don't. The thing that just has my head scratching a little bit is their pitching. I am not sure if they're going to be if their pitching is going to oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. I'm not sure if their pitching is going to be there this year, because last year it was not, and that was the reason why they got off to a really horrible start last year. And they finished strong, but their pitching, I think, has to remain consistent. They have all the hitting. They even acquired some extra bats to help them boost their lineup, but we'll just have to wait and see. But if that's the case, I expect the Astros to be playoff contenders this year again, and probably be a wild card team. The Blue Jays and the Astros are picking to be my wild card teams. Now, why did I put the Rangers down at third? The Rangers lost a couple key bats. Prince Fielder due to retirement, due to injury. Who else did they lose? They have some young talent on here. Mitch Moreland. I thought they lost somebody else. I can't remember who it was. Crap. Oh, well. But anyways, they have a lot more younger talent that's getting time this year. Joey Gallo, maybe finally Jerkson Profar. I can't remember. Somebody else's name was mentioned when I was looking at stuff today. But I just have a feeling that the Rangers are and their pitching is okay, but it's not really the complete consistent. And also, it's not the most reliable because of there's a lot of guys like Yu Darvish and like Cole Hamels and several of them who, I mean, they're good when they're healthy, but they're injury prone. So there's a chance that they might not be healthy. So that's why I had the Rangers dropping down to third in my early season predictions. The Angels are just that team. They seem they have all these big names on them, but they just never seem to produce. I mean, here and there they will. A couple years ago, they won 100 games, and then next year back down to the 575 win team. So I mean, now I'm actually seeing that they are going through a little bit of a rebuilding stage. So I had them still placing fourth, though. They still have some solid players on that team, but they don't have all the pieces needed to contend in this division. And, of course, the Oakland Athletics, the team that I think just completely collapsed when they got rid of Yoenis Cespedes. I don't know what happened. I mean, they had such good chemistry. They lost him. They just fell apart. Got a couple of acquisitions, and I know they signed Santiago Casilla. I think maybe a few others, I can't remember, but I don't see that being enough getting them out of the basement. So that's all for the American League. Before I go to the next slide, as a reminder here, just a recap, I have the Red Sox winning their division, the Blue Jays winning the wild card, Indians winning their division, Mariners winning their division, Astros winning the wild card. There we go. Now to the National League. Some interesting little shakeups here as well in positions where I think people are going to finish. Some not surprising, but some a little interesting. First, we have the Washington Nationals, which today they made a big sign. They signed former Orioles catcher Matt Wieters to a 2-year deal. And that signing and them acquiring Adam Eaton from the White Sox is going to give them a nice boost in center field. They're moving Trey Turner to shortstop, and they shipped Danny Espinosa off to the Angels. Putting Turner at his original position, and he only played in like 70-some games, and he put up unbelievable numbers. Unbelievable numbers last year in his limited time. So imagine how dangerous he'll be if he can adjust to going back to his regular position shortstop, because he spent most of his time last year playing in center field. Bryce Harper, who had a little bit of an off year, he expects to bounce back this year. And this is his contract year also, I believe. So we'll see if Bryce puts up good numbers. If he'll stick around with the Nationals. If not, probably going to the Yankees maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But the Nationals, with their pitching and their offense, I expect them to be even better this year. The Mets, past few years, I keep saying I don't see the Mets being that great of a team, but their pitching is really giving them a boost. They've got great bats in Yoenis Cespedes. Lucas Duda was hurt this year. Jose Reyes is back, but they're a little better than I thought they were. And I think their pitching staff is what's still going to carry them, but not quite. But their offense not being as high. We'll also have Curtis Granderson. I could forget David Wright needs to stay healthy as well. Also, he's a guy who gets injured a lot, but when he's healthy, he's still the decent captain material that he is. I see him playing healthy this year, and he'll be solid. He's starting to get up there in age a little bit, but anyways, getting back to it, they're pitching Syndergaard, DeGrom, Matt Harvey. Hopefully, he has a better year. Steven Matz, all these guys. I expect them to if they stay healthy, this Mets pitching staff is what's going to get the Mets into the playoffs and be the first wild card team. The Miami Marlins, I have placing third. I was really surprised. The Marlins really blossomed out last year. Despite the injuries to Giancarlo Stanton, which I think if he was healthy, and he did struggle a little last season, but with him still being healthy and having more time, this guy's just a guy that's. I mean, I love Stan to death. don't get me wrong, he's probably my second favorite player active today. Ichiro Suzuki, who's also on the Marlins, still is. I'm still surprised he's playing. I didn't expect him to play after he got a 3,000 hit last year. If he wants to play, cool. But anyways, Giancarlo Stanton, I think he can be a big difference maker if he stays healthy. He don't really have like one full healthy season. All others he's missed sometime to injuries. And this guy's just a case he's due to hit 50 homers. No doubt about it. If he stays healthy, 50 homers, please. Finally, I want to see Giancarlo get that big monster season. He's had 30 homer seasons. Let's get him up to 50. This guy has that power potential. Please do so. And in your pitching staff, I mean, after the tragic loss of Jose Fernandez, wearing my RIP Jose shirt right here. Rest in peace, Jose. We love you. I think they replaced him with a couple good arms in the offseason. They got Edinson Volquez, Andrew Kashner. Tom Kohler's about to do a solid pitcher. And their pitching staff really come around. So I think they can make a case in the wild card race as well. Probably not become a wild card team, but I think they're going to have a decent little, maybe like an 83, 85 win season. So that's my pick. That's how I'm picking the Marlins. This division, though, actually, both Eastern divisions for American League and National are actually pretty tough to predict because all of these teams, I think, have really uprising talent. Like this is the team the division that's going to be very close, I feel, as far as standings. The Phillies. Now, the Braves and the Phillies, I was back and forth who are going to put fourth or fifth. These are definitely going to be the teams that they're still in the rebuilding stage, but I think they're going to have good years and probably a little overlooked because of just where they're at in their division. The reason why I put the Phillies fourth over the Braves, I mean, the Braves, they picked up a lot of veterans from the trade deadline into this offseason. They got Matt Kemp last year at the trade deadline. They got R.A. Dickey and Bartolo Colon, the two oldest pitchers in the game, who are still pitching very solid today. Who else? They just acquired Brandon Phillips. They have Dansby Swanson, their top prospect shortstop, who's despite playing 30 games, is still going to be considered a rookie of the year candidate. We'll get to him also shortly. But the thing that I think that the Braves need to prove to me is their pitching staff. And I like the Phillies pitching staff. They have a lot of good young pitchers, and I think right now their pitching is better than the Braves, which is why I'm picking the Phillies place fourth and the Braves placing fifth. Oops, sorry. But all of these teams, I think, are going to win at least 75 games and be like, maybe even more. I don't know. But these are 5 teams that I think are really going to provide a tough race. The Nationals are definitely running away with this division. Mets in second. After that, it's anyone's game from there. So I think it's going to be a very interesting division to watch. We now move down to the Central, which is the division because of my hometown team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm not going to rant about the Pirates in this video or talk about them separately. I'm just going to just treat them like a normal team. Don't want to rant. But so I saw the Cubs placing first, despite them losing Dexter Fowler, which I think is a big offensive. I mean, I've always viewed Dexter Fowler as one of the more overrated players in the game. I mean, he's good, but not as good as he'll make it seem like he is. But I think his leadership definitely has meant something to the Cubs. And him leaving, I think, is going to maybe affect them a little bit, but I still feel that they're going to be the team to beat in the National League. And then Kyle Schwarber missed all last year except for 2 games and the World Series due to an ACL injury. And he's been permanently moved to the outfield, so let's see what happens. This is just a young team that's just going to continue to be good for next several years, I'd say. Like, a lot of these guys are younger than 24. Like, most of them are my age, and that's kind of freaky. Chris Bryant, Addison Russell surprised me last year. Javier Baez, I'm hoping will get more of like a full-time role this year. Anthony Rizzo's like getting up there a little bit in age, maybe like 27 maybe, but he's still dangerous. Their catcher, Wilson Contreras, I don't know who's going to be replacing Fowler. I don't know if it's Albert Amora Jr. or what. Jorge Soler went off to the Royals for Wade Davis, their closer, who didn't have as good of a year, but he can still have a pretty dominant year as a closer for the Cubs, even though most of their wins are blowouts. I said Schwarber. Schwarber's a guy I'm hoping to have like a monster year. I want to see him hit 40 homers this year. Chris Bryant could hit 40 homers. Anthony Rizzo, 35, 40 homers. Well, Ben Zobrist, I think it's going to probably be moving around a lot as well. He played a lot more left field once Javier Baez was needing more in the lineup at second base. But we'll see what happens. I mean, they could even move Chris Bryant to left field. I don't know. Chris Bryant is someone who's willing to play anywhere. But yeah, the Cardinals, I don't know. I still I keep saying almost every year, I'm waiting for that one year that the Cardinals fall off a little bit. They just missed the playoffs last year. Wasn't as good of a team. Probably one because the Cubs were just too dang good last year, winning 103 games. But also, there's a lot of these players, they know how to win, but they're an age. I mean, they still have some young players that I think are like Randall Grichuk, Stephen Piscotty, the Diaz, the shortstop, I can never pronounce his first name. But yeah, I don't know, but I can see, if this pattern is going with the Giants making the playoffs in the even years, not the odd years, I can see probably the Cardinals still somehow being like a weaker wild card team, in my opinion. I don't know. It could be the Marlins, who knows? But in these predictions, excuse me, I'm sorry, I picked the Cardinals to win the second wild card. The Pirates placing third, without going on a big rant about my hometown team. I mean, yes, I'll be honest. Right now, I'm not expecting much from them. I'm glad, though, Andrew McCutchen, this whole offseason extravaganza with the Pirates going to trade for Andrew McCutchen. He was almost shipped off to the Nationals, I heard, but the trade never went through. Kutch is still here, and despite being a little shocked and like a little stunned at first when being told he's going to move to right field, I'm glad he accepted it. I think it's a great move for the team, putting Marte in center, Polanco on left, Kutch in right. But again, I will say this. Kutch, despite the low average last year, he still, for the most part, had similar numbers. He still hit 24 homers, drove in 75 RBIs. Yeah, his defense was down last year, but if the batting average was higher, imagine how dangerous this guy would be. I'm hoping the batting average is higher this year, which most likely probably will. Maybe at least 290. I'm hoping out of Kutch, 25 homers, maybe 90 RBIs if he gets his swing back. We'll see what happens. He has one more year left on his contract after this year. We'll see where Kutch goes. Even though he's saying he would like to stay. But the Pirates team last year, they have the tools to win. I mean, right now I'm still predicting a 75 win season out of the Pirates. But if they can stay consistent, they have the tools to win. They just got to be consistent. Because last year they had a great start. They had a horrible month of June where they went like 9-23, I think, or something like that, and they just never really recovered after that. I mean, they didn't fully collapse, but it's just like they couldn't stay stable, and they fell back off and had a losing season. But again, they could do good if they have the players. If they play their full potential, I think we can still be a threat. But for now, I'm having them place third, win 75 games. Fourth, I'm having the Reds win, place fourth over the Brewers. Despite them being in a rebuilding phase, I think their pitching is starting to come around a little bit with the experience. They still have some veterans on the team. Well, Joey Votto, Zach Cozart. But they just shipped off Brandon Phillips, but that gives room for prospect Dilson Herrera acquired from the Mets and the Jay Bruce deal. But I think the Reds could have maybe a strong year, maybe almost having 70 wins. So I'm picking the Reds to place fourth. The Brewers placing fifth because more so they have a lot of guys who are going to be getting their first crack at the big leagues pretty much. They don't really have too many veterans like Ryan Braun, but a lot of these guys just need the experience and such. But I'd say people think by 2019 the Brewers are going to be a threat again, but this year I think it's going to be just a rebuilding year, maybe a 100-loss team for the Brewers. That's just my predictions. If they prove me wrong, okay. I know I'm not really been much of a Brewers fan, but at least they're getting some fresh names on that roster. But yeah, moving on to the National League West now. I have the Dodgers, who usually are winning it, run with it again. They still have all their talent on there. Corey Seager, Rookie of the Year, expecting another big year out of him. Adrian Gonzalez getting up there in age, but he still has a lot to offer. Outfield, I mean, some of their outfielders are a little unstable, but I think if they put the pieces together, I see them running away with this division win again, and their pitching stays healthy as well. So last year, they still did well, and they got to the American League Championship Series. The National Championship Series, despite Clayton Kershaw, having an injury for decent amount of the second half, but that's my say. And then the Giants, I had them placing second, but not quite making the playoffs. Even so, they've lost some of their pitchers and a few others. And they have some players been injury prone. So I can see the Giants not quite making just missing the playoffs this year, but still placing second. The Rockies, I say every year, the Rockies, their team has all these great hitters. They have Carlos Gonzalez. They got Ian Desmond in the offseason, who just needs to prove he can play first base. Nolan Arenado, a future MVP. Trevor Story, great rookie last year, had a great rookie season. Unfortunately, was cut short a little bit by injury. Hope he'll have an awesome year. Outfield is just unbelievable as well. The only thing the Rockies don't have is pitching. But if they have pitching, which I think the pitching is starting to get better, they'll be a dangerous team. They just need the pitching. I think they're going to have a decent year, maybe almost finish at 500, be a playoff contending team. I had them placing third. Diamondbacks placing fourth. They're a team like this, I thought they were going to add high expectations for them last year. Some of their pitchers who I know that can be good, they come around, but their offense, they still have like some players who are just starting to blossom out. But I had them finishing fourth again this year. And the Padres, they're a team that like I went to the Pirates and Padres game last year. There's all these guys, for Will Myers. I'm like, who are these guys? So the Padres are back at scratch right now. Pretty much Will Myers is the face of the team right now. Great player. I'm glad he finally had a great year last year. But I see the Padres placing fifth, probably a 100-loss team as well. I mean, I know I predicted a couple 100-loss season teams, but definitely I think the worst team in this league this year is definitely going to be the Padres. So now, before we get to the playoffs, let's move on to my predicted awards. Who's going to win what this year? So we'll start with the American League. A guy who I think could have had a chance to win last year. I mean, I like Mike Trout, but really, he's doing great things for a losing team. And I think like someone else, I mean, if he wins it, I'm okay with it. But if there's anybody I want to see win the American League MVP, it's definitely Jose Altuve. He's putting together the power. He's been probably one of the best hitters in the league over the past few seasons. Hitting like getting over 200 hits. He's developed some power last year. He hasn't stolen many bases, but he still steals quite a bit. But his power, get to like the 20 homer mark. This guy's an MVP caliber player. If the Astros can get back in the wild card or even win the division, I see this guy being American League MVP. Cy Young, I wasn't sure really who to go with, so I stuck with the guy who I felt the Indians won the World Series last year. I picked Corey Kluber. This guy was a guy years ago who was nothing, and now he's just one of the best pitchers in the league. I got him winning the Cy Young Award. Rookie of the Year, Andrew Venditti, or whatever his name was, for the Red Sox. He's probably going to be on the I don't really know too much about too many prospects, but he's someone who seems like he's going to be on the in the starting lineup for the Red Sox on opening day, and I think he's going to he's a top prospect getting good time in the majors. I think he'll be the Rookie of the Year this year. The comeback player of the year, I'm picking Mike Moustakas from the Royals. Once again, I think he can be a big difference maker if the Royals get like second or third place. Maybe somehow get back into the playoff contention. But we'll see what happens. But again, this is a big year for the Royals. And if they don't get the job done this year, or at least get back to the playoffs, they might be looking at the Royals going into a rebuilding season in 2018. And then manager of the year, I'm picking Mariners manager Scott Servais, or however you pronounce his last name. I expect a big year from the Mariners, get back to the playoffs, win the division probably for the first time, I think, since they won 116 games, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But yeah, I expect a big year from the Mariners. So either a wild card team or win your division. That's my predicted awards for the American League. For the National League, MVP, Corey Seager. Could be Chris Bryant again, but Corey Seager, I think he's going to put up great numbers this year in his second full year in the majors. For a shortstop, it's going to be higher expectations because most shortstops aren't really known much for their hitting. But I definitely picking Corey Seager to win the National League MVP. Cy Young Award, if he's healthy, Clayton Kershaw. Last year he was a little unhealthy. But there's no one else in this league that is better than Clayton Kershaw, so I have that. Rookie of the Year, National Rookie of the Year I could really pick was Dansby Swanson from the Braves. This guy's a big name talked about even last year. I'm picking him with Rookie of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, I'm picking Kutch. I don't know if the Pirates will make it to the playoffs this year. Again, I'm saying no. They have something to prove me, but I believe they can. And if Kutch can just turn around, get that batting average up, I think he'll be Comeback Player of the Year. And Manager of the Year as well. I wasn't sure where to go here because most of the teams that I'm predicting to win, managers didn't really have much to prove. But so I think the team that I think is going to improve, but going to be a threat in the playoffs, but not quite make it, and that's Bud Black, who's now the manager of the Rockies. So I'm picking him to be National Manager of the Year because he's at least going to get the Rockies into contention, and he has something to prove. And I think most of the other teams that are going to get in have already proven what they can do. And now let's get to the playoffs. So I made like a bracket right here, as you see, and we'll start off with the American League wild card game. I see it being the Blue Jays and Astros. I like the Blue Jays, but I think the Astros are a team I want to see, get back to the playoffs, have a little bit of a run. Again, if the Astros pitching can come around this year, with Dallas Keuchel can get back to form as he was 2 years ago, I think the Astros can take this game over the Blue Jays and move on to the American League Division Series. For the National League Division wild card game, I have the Cardinals and Mets rematch from the 2006 National League Championship Series. I actually made an error there. I meant to put the Mets there. I'm sorry. I meant to put the Mets over the Cardinals. That's a mistake on my fault. I am so sorry about that. But I know I have the Cardinals winning over, but I want to see. I meant to put the Mets. I am so sorry about it. The honest truth. The Mets pitching, I think, is going to be able to overpower the Cardinals team, and the Mets will advance into the National Division Series. So for the Division Series in the American League, Astros and Red Sox. Astros, again, good season, but probably going to come up here a little short against the Red Sox going on to the American League Championship Series. Mariners and Indians, again, I think the Mariners, going to have a good run, but I think they're probably going to come up short, maybe like 3 games to 1 or something like that, to the dominating Indians who have the postseason experience needed and move on to the American League Championship Series as well. So it'll be a rematch between the American League Division Series between Red Sox and Indians from last year. For the National League, again, sorry, it should be the Mets. Mets and Cubs facing off. Mets solid pitching, but I think the Cubs are going to overcome the Mets from last year's from 2 years ago when they lost in the championship series. So the Cubs I have going to the championship series again. Now, Nationals and Dodgers. The Nationals are a team that have never been known to get past the National League Division Series. They haven't since they started making the playoffs, years ago, and this has basically been because of their pitching. But I think Trey Turner is going to be a big difference maker. Bryce Harper is going to be back to his form this year. Adam Eaton's going to be a big help. And what really got me more invested in the Nationals is the signing of Matt Wieters, another great bat, Gold Glover. I think he's going to really boost this Nationals offense. Nationals overcoming the Dodgers in the National League Division Series. So now for the League Championship Series, I have the Red Sox and Indians. I think these two teams are going to put up a bigger brawl than they did last year. Not just Red Sox not going to get swept, but I think they're going to put up a good fight. But Indians, as I keep saying, are the team to beat. Are going to win their second American League Championship, American League pennant for the second year in a row, advance to the World Series. And the Cubs and Nationals, as I said before, despite the Cubs being just that great young team, I don't think they're going to be as dominating this year as they were last year. Probably still be like a 95, 97 win team. Like the Nationals are probably right up around there, but with their pitching and the addition to how they've improved their offense a lot, I think the Nationals can come through this year and go to the World Series this year. So I'm predicting the Indians and the Nationals in the World Series this year. Could it be 7 games again? Who knows? I don't know where, but I think I would like to see these two teams collide in the World Series. And my World Series winner, for the first time since 1947, the Cleveland Indians. That's right. I think they've gone better than last year. They have the experience. Their pitching is getting even better. Their young guys have gone even better. And Francisco Lindor, Jason Kipnis. They have Edwin Encarnacion, which is a big upgrade for them, I feel. Michael Brantley could be healthy again. If not, their outfield, the rest of their team is healthy. Corey Kluber, Danny Salazar. I really, really like where the Indians are going. And I liked how they did this offseason to make their team even better than they were last year. So that is why I am picking the Cleveland Indians to win the World Series. And Francisco Lindor, I'm predicting to be the World Series MVP. But, yep, that is it, everybody. I know I only had one viewer to peek on for briefly for this this live broadcast. I didn't really expect to really get any viewers at all. So for those of you who did one person who did tune in for a brief moment, thank you. This is my first live broadcast ever, and my predictions for the MLB 2017 season. Again, I'm not going to be doing live broadcasts that often, more so for like video collaborations or any videos like this where I don't need really any like big opening graphics or something like that. Most of my wrestling videos that I'm going to do as live broadcasts are just going to be like my video collaborations, which that video will probably be sometime in March. We're doing 4 different wrestling videos. One is pay-per-view, top 10 pay-per-views, top 10 WrestleMania matches, top 10 WrestleMania moments, and top 10 WrestleMania performers, which my channel is going to consist of the top 10 WrestleMania performers. So stay tuned to that. Please follow me on Twitter at TheManAirboy93, and please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave your comments down in the comments section. And with that, guys, I will see you all later. Take care, everybody.